okay, I'll admit it, I'm getting a little bit nervous about the David Moyes situation. And despite me saying 2 or 3 days ago that I was relaxed, maybe relaxed and nervous if you can be such a relaxed, but with a slight nervous twitch, if you like. What has prompted this change of mind, you may ask? The Stuart Pearce interview wasn't great. Hopefully you watched the video on the main channel yesterday, which hopefully will explain a little bit more. But it's not just a Stuart Pearce interview, although the interview wasn't great. It's a good interview, good for Stuart Pearce. I don't think it wasn't great listening if you're a West Ham fan and you want to retain David Moyes, because the more of the team, the coaching team that drop out, we know Alan Irvine has left already, that drop out, I think the less likely it is that we retain a manager who realistically we need. We don't just need him to be a good manager, we need him to put his ethos and his philosophy onto the club. We need him to build the infrastructure. This is what we need. We've discussed it many, many times. And I didn't think it was great. I liked what Pearce said in as much as he said, I'm loyal to David Moyes. And he was more or less saying, I'm not loyal to West Ham, I'm loyal to David Moyes. I get that. Why should he be? If you remember when David Moyes returned for his second stint, he wanted to bring Pearce in. Now, this is not hearsay. This is not even just my opinion. This is what Pearce said on national radio on TalkSport. He alluded to the fact that it wasn't going to be ratified, his return, that Moyes wasn't allowed to bring him back because I think, if I've got this right, Pearce had been critical of David Sullivan after the first stint. I think Pearce had been critical of Sullivan sacking David Moyes or not extending his contract after he saved us from relegation the first time. Pearce was critical of Sullivan, so Sullivan said, I don't want you back the second time. That's the story anyway. How much of it is true? I don't know. But we can only go on Stuart Pearce's word, and Stuart Pearce is a great guy, is a good guy, right? A trustworthy individual. Why would you not believe him? I certainly do. So why would he be loyal to West Ham? He's loyal to David Moyes. David Moyes gave him a job twice. So he's not signing his contract at West Ham until David Moyes signs his, which obviously remains unsigned. Now, he gave indications that David Moyes had agreed that he was going to sign a 3-year deal. And I still think David Moyes' word is his bond, and him being a straight-up guy and all that sort of thing probably makes it more likely that he signs with West Ham than buggers off to Everton. But the story is today that he is in talks with Everton, that he has been approached by Bill Kenwright. We've spoken about Bill Kenwright already. He's his former chairman and former owner of Everton, still chairman, as I say, and a little bit of a glossy, hands-off role, if you like, the lifetime presidency or whatever it might be. He's not really the owner. He doesn't really do an awful lot, as far as I know. But he is still there, and he still, I guess, wields some level of influence at the football club. The article doesn't make great reading. I'll read it to you in a minute. It's from Football Fancast, but it does very much say that Moyes is. I'll read that to you. There's some phrases in it like Moyes is keen to return to goodness. I don't like reading that sort of thing. And that's not really saying, I think he might go or I think he might be interested. Moyes is keen. You'd have to... Actually, that is a player, is it? Anyway, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that for a moment. It's a little bit of a worrying one. So I'm just going to get into that in a second. Just before I do, yes, Scorito, thank you so many for all of you that have signed up. And please do complete the predictions, though, because you're sort of entered into a Hammers Chat sort of mini-league type thing. So we need you to complete all your score predictions for group stages. I've got England getting through the group stage, although the group does not look... I don't know, great for Scotland, so let's be fair. But I'll be interested to know what you come up with. You don't even have to post them below. We should be able to see them from our end once you've done it. So please do, everybody. It takes 5 minutes. Put your predictions in. I haven't got England as a massively high scoring team. I do think we're going to get into trouble. There was another bit where you've got to predict. You haven't got to, if you can, if you want to. It's just a game, predict the highest scorers. I played the game. I don't know. Maybe there's a prize. Who knows? I've gone for Harry Kane, Memphis Depay, a couple of others. I'll pop it up there on the screen. Immobile. I call him immobile. That's not what you want from your striker. A lack of mobility, is it? But I've got a feeling Italy will do all right. which probably means that Italy will do terribly. Let me read you this thing from the Football Fancast. It says, Everton, Bill Kenwright begins David Moyes talks. Everton have been in talks with Nuno Santo. Yeah, so have Crystal Palace, but apparently that's not going to happen. Bill Kenwright has been keen on bringing David Moyes back to Goodison Park, and he's now progressed in his efforts to do so. That's not the keen bit I'm saying. It's according to Football Insider, Everton chairman has opened up discussions with Moyes returning to Merseyside. An informal approach has been made to the 58-year-old. Now, hold on, we were told that they wouldn't approach David Moyes unless they got permission to do so. But I guess an informal approach, we know it happens. We know it happens. The question is, has it happened? But whilst this contract remains unsigned, it's a worry, right? It is a worry because we were all being told last week it's been signed. Well, it hasn't. It just hasn't. Anyway, it says an informal approach has been made to the 58-year-old who is keen on becoming a new Everton manager. That being said, he is also content to remain at West Ham. Content. So keen for Everton, content at West Ham. It goes on. You don't really need me to read an awful lot more of it. It links Rafa Benitez with the Everton job as well. I know, you know, I said this. I think that's who we get if Moyes leaves. The longer it goes on, the worse it gets. The transfer window is open now. Now, I wouldn't blame Moyes for leaving. I wouldn't blame him, and this is the truth of the matter. Because why? I guess in many respects, why should he be loyal to West Ham? Because we released him the first time. I said this so many times. He will feel he did a good job the first time. He will feel that he achieved his mandate, basically. What he was mandated to do, he did. And then he got booted out. All right, you know what I mean. He didn't get his contract renewed. But then some other bloke came in and was given sort of 100 million to spend. And I bet, somebody all said this at the time, I bet David Moyes looking at it thinking, hold on, I could have done with that money. What would David Moyes have done with that money? Well, probably not bought Sebastian Haller and certainly Felipe Anderson. I think if we're going to be fair, he probably wouldn't have brought Pablo Fornals, and that's the one that's worked out, hasn't it, really well there. But you know what I'm saying. You get the impression that Moyes would have spent that 100 million significantly better than Pellegrini did, certainly. Then we got so my point is, I can understand that. I can understand him not having massive loyalty to West Ham in terms of a job. Would he to the individual players who he's possibly promised that he will build things around? I'm sure when he brought Souček in, he said, I've got big plans. I'm sure when he brought a lot of these players in, I've got big plans and blah, blah, blah. But if that was the case, no manager would move, because I'm sure every manager does that. I'm pretty sure leading into his last season at Everton, he promised quite a lot of those players that they were going to really make a push for it that season, and he had big plans. Man United came calling, it all changed, and off he went. So he's shown the capacity to be able to do so. And as I've said on numerous occasions, he has, by and large, repaired his reputation. And it may well be tempting for him to go there. I'm just saying, there ain't going to be an awful lot of loyalty towards somebody that had already sacked him. Or not retained him, let's say. Now, I hope all of this is not true. But the Alan Irvine thing doesn't help. Alan Irvine, a good friend of his, saying he can't work down here. He's only going to work up north. Well, Everton's up north, isn't it? And, do you put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5? Quite possibly. We might put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. It's a worry. I could really do with somebody coming out and rubber stamping this and getting the contract signed. Maybe, possibly. I would hope the worst case scenario is that Moyes is just using this renewed vacancy at Everton as a tool to extract a little bit more money, a little bit more of a transfer budget from the owners. But Moyes is an ambitious man. And here's the point, and I think here's the final point, and possibly the most important one. Whether he has an allegiance to Everton or whether he doesn't. Well, I think he does. Whether he has an emotional pull to West Ham or whether he doesn't. Again, I think he probably does. There's no way you can work somewhere for that length of time, build up relationships, and of course there's going to be something there. Just because he won't like how he was treated contractually the first time doesn't mean that he won't have created bonds and friendships and so on and so forth at the club and have an affinity with the club. But I think it boils down to something else entirely. I think it may well just boil down to ambition. And this is why maybe he might want to try and extract a little bit of money from West Ham. Possibly he looks at someone like Aston Villa and think, oh, they're going to have a spend up, you know. And then if he's offered the Everton job, what are they saying to Everton? And what are they saying to David Moyes in an interview at Everton, or indeed this informal approach? So say they've approached him informally. Have they said to him, we'll give you the Everton job, we'll give you a 3-4 year contract, and we'll give you 150 million to spend? Now, I don't think that is unreasonable. And I mean me guessing the £150 million mark. Just look at what Everton have spent over the last few seasons. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that Everton might want to offer David Moyes 150 million to spend? I don't think so. I don't think this. I've plucked the figure out of the air. Yes, I have. But look at what they've spent. Is he likely at Everton to only get 50 million to spend? No, he'll get more. You know he'll get more. So he's probably going to get quite a lot. The guy's minted. It's not David Moyes. Well, David Moyes has minted. David Moyes has been multi-millionaire, but the owner, Fad Mashiri, is minted, right? Which brings it back down to ambition. And then he looks at West Ham. And if West Ham are saying is, we're going to give you 50 million plus whoever you sell, well, he's probably thinking, well, I ain't going to get anything for Felipe Anderson. I'm not going to get anything for Yarmolenko. I don't particularly want to sell any of my best players. I do wonder if Everton, on the other hand, are probably not saying, by the way, you can have 50, 60 million, and if you sell Calvert-Lewin, you can also keep the money for that. I bet Everton, he gets in excess of 100 million and gets to keep his best players. And that may well be the biggest difference. If there is a decision, if there is a bit of balance, that scales, obviously, by the way. There is a bit of balancing up to be done between Everton and West Ham. That, the ambition part, may well be just what swings it.